Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Three biggest fears of people, right? What, death by fire? I don't know what they are. Death by fire, vacationing with the in-laws. But I know public speaking is right up there. People don't like to public speak. And I can't relate. I really can't relate. I've never been in front of thousands of people necessarily, but I've never had a problem being in front of people. In fact, when I was in 7th or 8th grade, my voice is changing. I've got it's breaking all the time. And we're giving speeches in social sciences, and teachers like, okay, who wants to volunteer to go first? And I'm like, I'm going to go. I don't care. Anyhow, today I have Orly Amore on, and she is a international professional speaker and executive coach to corporate leaders. She helps people. Well, get this. She's so confident with respect to what she does. And essentially it's a business in a box for public speakers. She proudly guarantees her clients will make $150,000. That's 150 and then 3 more zeros in their first year of public speaking, or she keeps working with them until they do. And, she's the best-selling author, or she's the author of a best-selling book, Public Speakers, You're Not All That, 12 Reasons Why Event Planners Won't Hire You. So, Orly, welcome. I know we're going to talk networking because that's a lot of your program, right?
Yeah, but it's funny to hear people introduce me, and but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Why is it funny to hear people introduce you? You've got quite a track record.
Because, everybody has a different take on exactly what I do as a business coach for public speakers. People usually even stop themselves before saying she guarantees 150K,
Yeah.
And because it's maybe hard to fathom that I can guarantee this kind of money. I'll tell you a good anecdote in a minute, but the truth is that 150K is minimum wage in public speaking. So if I can find you a job at McDonald's, can I guarantee that they'll pay you minimum wage? Yes, it's the law, right?
Okay.
So I can guarantee 150K in public speaking because that's minimum wage. That's like, a third of what some people are making. So
sure. Well, I talked about the fears in the beginning. You're not dealing with that because people have made a decision to come to you or to even be in your orbit. They've decided, hey, I'm going to be a public speaker. They just struggle getting clients. Fair?
They're struggling getting paid to speak, yes, but it's not that I don't teach how to speak. We do speaker training boot camps for that.
Sure.
So we have one coming up in November in Miami. But the point being is that, to craft a speech is what people struggle with. So they don't know how to get prepared. The other part that they get afraid of, and that's another fear that they have, is that if somebody else went over, their time is cut short. So if you were promised an hour to speak and now somebody went over by 15 minutes, guess what? You only have 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So how do you cut a speech so quickly in your head and keep on time? And that's a very difficult thing to do. So in our speaker training bootcamp, we train them how to do 3 to 6 minute speeches and then add them up. Same formula, just add up another 6, another 6, another 6. So if you're ever in trouble and you're getting on stage or speaking for less time than you were promised, then you can cut it off easily by doing it in your head. There you go.
Oh, that's so smart, being flexible. I can't think of I've ever been in that situation. I've never had people speaking in front of me or behind me or something like that.
Right.
But I could see that would be just totally unnerving.
Yeah, and in a summit, in a conference, it happens very often. Some speakers just don't know how to keep time. That's all.
Yeah. Wow. So 12 reasons why event planners won't hire you. I don't need them all, but what's the biggie?
No, I get it. Well,
I want people to buy the book.
Oh, well, they
Orly.
can buy the book. I really, like that's where that's a given. I can give you the link to the book and you can have it digitally. My point here is that, I had to interview over 3,400 event planners for this book that actually pay speakers, because a lot of coaches and speakers out there are teaching a lot of the old school stuff, like you need a podcast or you need a book or you need a website and you need, but they never teach them how to actually get paid to speak. So then they tell them, well, you need to go and speak for free for 100 times before somebody will pay you just to get exposure. So when people come to me and they say, well, I'm okay with getting exposure, I'm like, you know what, you can go outside. The sun will give you plenty, because at the end of the day, this is not about exposure. I believe that you should be paid for your knowledge, right? I mean, Frank, up to this point in your life, you've paid for what you have, meaning you paid with education, money, blood, sweat, tears, aggravation, ups and downs, change of career, whatever it is, you paid for it. Why would you give it away? There's no reason for that. It's your intellectual property, right? So I encourage people to get paid first, because there's a lot of people that teach how to sell from the stage, which is called speak to sell. I don't do that. I know how. I don't want to teach it because it's not for everybody. Those who are good at it make tons of money because it's a lot. It's very lucrative. It's extremely lucrative, but you got to know how to close at least 20 to 25% of the room, or else you're not making money.
I guess just to clarify, those are people who are speaking and saying, there are 7 ways to make money, make money in real estate, no money down. Here are 3. You want the other 4, you got to buy my package, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or you've been to these conferences where at the end of the speaker's slideshow, they have a slide that has all these things that you can get. Can I show you my offer? Do I have your permission to show you my offer? And then of course everybody shakes their head. What are they going to do? Go outside, right?
Yeah.
They're going to sit there through it. And then at the end of it, they say, okay, well, it's all worth like $60,000, but for you today, 2 payments of $49.95, right? So at the end of the day, people just are used to that. And event planners, to tell you the truth, if they pay you, they don't want you to sell from the stage. So what are you going to do now, right?
Yeah.
And so those are skill sets that I help my clients with. But one of the things, number one thing in the book that event planners say about speakers is that they don't have their XYZ together.
Okay. Don't have their it's a podcast. They don't have their shit together.
They don't have their shit together.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so I'll give you some statistics that are really mind-blowing, and then I'll come to what I mean by this, okay? So there are 64,000 events a day in America alone, Canada and the United States, that pay speakers, yet most speakers are broke. 48% of speakers don't even respond to event planners. 48%.
What do you mean they don't?
Be paid.
Oh.
They get an email. They don't respond to it. Why is that? Because they don't have the things that the event planner asked for together in the way that they want to see it. That's another story. But that is a big situation here in the industry. So speakers see an email, they get all excited, they go and prepare for it, whatever it is that they're supposed to give the event planner, and then they're too late. They have already chosen another speaker. So when you
mean like videos, one sheets, things like that, or
all the stuff that they need. Sometimes they don't need the one sheet. Sometimes they just ask you for your bio.
Okay.
And then people bring it. You know what a Megillah is?
I don't.
A Megillah in the Jewish religion is the scroll of the Queen Esther. It's it's so big and so long that it can cover the whole planet. That's how they describe it. It's so long. So these speakers who don't know what they're doing are obviously sending out emails that are long, and nobody's going to read them, right? And
yeah, less is more.
Less is more. I agree. But you know what? They did a survey on the most stressful jobs in America, Canada, and the United States, the 100 most stressful jobs. Number 1 was military jet fighter plane pilot. Number 2 was air traffic controller. Number 6 was event planner coordinator. They don't have time for your long emails and your
Right.
bio and your book. Who cares? Nobody does, right? And they also don't care that you've been on Fox News and on NBC and on CNN. Who cares? Nobody does. Those are media sheets. And a speaker sheet is to get speaking gigs. A media sheet is to get more media exposure, like podcasts and TV shows. That's what
Right.
it's for, right? But people use it interchangeably. They just put everything together and they called it a one sheet. That is terrifying to me, right?
Yeah.
So what does it mean that they don't have their shit together? It means that they don't have all the documentation that they need to operate a good speaking business. That's what they don't have. And like Shark Tank, you've seen the show Shark Tank.
Oh, I watch it on YouTube all the time.
I love it. I love that show. And I love Kevin O'Leary, which I met in person. Kevin usually says, okay, what are your numbers? Let's go to brass tacks, right?
Yeah.
What are your numbers? And 99.9% of speakers don't know their numbers.
Yeah.
They know how much they made last year, but they could not tell you how many people versus how much money versus how much travel versus how many hours of actual preparedness. So all that they don't know. They don't know their business, and they need to know their business, because if you're gonna get paid and not sell anything, then you need to know what is your margin for error, because if you do not perform well for yourself, then you're not really having a business, you have a hobby.
Okay. So what are you telling these professional speakers, public speakers, or wannabe speakers, how to get networked? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people like, hey, I'm great, I got a book, I got a podcast, I've built it, they should come.
Right.
And they don't.
And that doesn't happen because you're not all that. In the old days, like 20, 30 years ago, there were only about 6, 10 big speakers on the planet, right? Like Les Brown, Steve Covey, all these guys were amazing, right?
Well, to have a book was a big deal. Now it's pretty easy to have a book. Everybody can have a book.
Yeah, and we're not talking about Amazon bestseller. I'm an Amazon bestseller. I'm not a New York Times bestseller. So let's not go crazy. It's easy to do on Amazon to be a bestseller.
I know.
Just choose one category that is not in your bucket and sell one book, and you're a bestseller in that category. Yay. Okay. But it's a glorified business card. It's not a big deal, but it is an accomplishment. So I don't want to take away from it. And
sure.
I don't want to, it's not about disrespecting your audience. It's okay. You accomplished it. Congratulations. But I have clients who went ahead and did 50 books, 70 books, like really crazy stuff. And I'm thinking, when are you going to get paid to speak? Like, when do you do that? When do you do that part of the business? But networking is so important. It's mandatory, right? Mandatory for any business to begin with. But in public speaking, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows you speak. Shouldn't you start telling people that you're a speaker? Right?
Yeah.
People say, oh, I'm a coach. Well, why don't you start with public speaking if you like public speaking and you want to be considered a speaker? Coaching just becomes a part of it. It's like one of the 6 funnels of income, right? From any industry, you should have about 6 to 7, income funnels. And public speaking is no different. So you have you're a public speaker, and then you have a book, which is great. It's not monetizable, but it is not bad if you're a good marketer, right? Then you have your coaching. Then you can have some t-shirts made. I don't really care, right? Then you can have some kind of prop that helps people get organized, and you have another prop for people to journal, and all these things are just money driven, right? But if you don't speak, then none of them matter.
Yeah.
And also, speaking is number one in my book anyways. It's one of the number one ways to get more clients for any kind of business. Because people buy when they're educated. Yes, they emotionally buy, but rationally also,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I look at speaking as just that opportunity to kind of demonstrate what you're about. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to build trust.
Yes, it depends, because most speakers are in this industry either to feed their ego or to feed their pocket. I invite them to feed their pocket, not their ego. This is not about here I am, look at me, I know what I'm doing, I am the best at this, that, and the other. You know, a lot of people say to me, do you know so and so? And I'm like, no. Oh, you don't? She's huge, he's huge, whatever. Yeah, but I never heard of him. And do you know
Yeah,
how many people in the world have not heard of Tony Robbins?
lots.
Only people who love the self-help world would know who Tony Robbins is. Otherwise, there's countries that don't know who Tony Robbins is.
No, that's totally true. I talk to people who are like corporate America types, I'll say something to, and I like Tony Robbins. I'm not a,
Me too. Me too.
I'm not a, well, I just don't, I'm not just, I'm not into worshiping people,
No,
right?
no, me neither. Right.
Yeah. So it's like, Tony, I like what he says,
Right.
and I'll, throw out a quote and, well, who said that? Well, Tony Robbins. Who? Oh, you don't know who Tony Robbins is? Okay. And that's when I
Right.
started realizing, all right, that's, they
When I
don't,
was on Facebook, I used to meet people, for one-on-ones, for coffee here in New York, and I would tell them about Tony Robbins, and they're like, "Who?" And I'm like, "You don't know who Tony Robbins is? Hold on a second." And I would take my phone and video. Can you repeat that? Because people don't believe me, and then I would put it live on Facebook. You gotta tell my people that you don't know who Tony Robbins is.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's funny, but it's true though, there's not many that know, so they don't know who I am. And when people say, well, I never heard of you, and I'm like, well, I never heard of you too,
Now, do you encourage your speaker clients to network with each other?
Absolutely. So we have a group once a month that we all meet, like my clients meet together,
Yeah,
because what I'm teaching them is how to refer business to each other. See, if
sure.
I cannot make an event, guess what? I know my people were trained by me, so I know how they're going to act with event planners. I have no qualms about referring them as a replacement for me not being able to go. I mean, 64,000 events a day in America, right? There could be 10 that I would be called on, but I already booked. So what happens then? I actually do refer my clients.
Well, I guess the other thing I was thinking is not everybody's speaking on the same thing,
Exactly,
right?
that too. Sure.
Yeah,
But but you know what? If you're a professional speaker, there are topics that maybe are not yours, but you can work them still.
sure.
You might not, maybe networking is your biggest thing, and then, maybe leadership is not, and I'm just giving it as an example, but you can speak on leadership. You've done it. You've owned
Yeah.
companies. You've done, you've had
Oh yeah, I get it.
leadership is, so there
But
is
I've
ways
had people,
to-
but I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, we love the program you do. We love it.
Right,
Do you know a woman who could do it?" I mean, I've actually heard that. It's
right,
like,
right,
yeah, I do. I mean, I do. Not going to be exactly me, but
right.
you know, I just
Yeah,
know that's not mine, and that's okay. I mean,
sure.
there's enough money in the world for everybody, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um,
The funny part in this industry, I used to say it's $100 billion a year industry, until a brokerage firm for speakers and coaches said that this industry will grow by 13.2 billion by the end of 2022.
mm,
That's amazing to me. And I'm like, I don't know
yeah,
about you, but I want a piece of that pie, right? And I'm
yeah,
already getting a piece of that pie. I'm good. But also, we are 1 million speakers short in the world and 1 million coaches short in the world. How
wow,
cool is that?
yeah,
I mean, there's room for everyone. If you
yeah,
want to at least do this business, it's not for people who don't want to do it for the long haul. Because there's 3 things you need to embrace in this industry. One, it's not going anywhere.
right,
And the one that's virtual is still not going anywhere. Still, right
yeah,
now, 78% of events are still virtual. People are still afraid to go anywhere. Number 2 is that events are going to get smaller before they get bigger. We're not talking about Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins events. We're talking about normal events that you would be hired to speak, whether it's corporate or associations or things like that. That's like 40 to 100 people max, right? There are a
yeah,
couple that are 150, but I've been to them and it's not that many, right?
yeah,
And the third thing is that you need to be here for the long haul. Those who will make it in this industry are the ones that are going to stick it out. That's
right.
really what needs to be embraced right now.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's shift gears here. Let's talk about your business. You have this guarantee.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about that, and then how people can get a hold of you.
Okay. So yeah, so I do guarantee anyone that they can make $150,000 their first year in public speaking. So I don't care if they started yesterday, I can still make them a star. That nobody knows that they started yesterday except for them and me,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
So it's a
good.
good thing, and it's not about fake it till you make it. It's about having the right tools and owning and having ownership of what you do, right? Because if
No,
you
I
don't believe
totally
in
agree.
yourself, who will?
Yeah, I totally agree. I analogize it to the guy who, and I say guy because mainly plumbers are guys, who
Right.
worked for a company for years and then just decided he's got his own truck and all his own tools. He's going to go out on his own. He's not starting plumbing fresh. He's just starting out on his own fresh. And it's the same thing with speaking. Hey,
Exactly.
now, grant, I mean, I'm not going to go out and talk about vascular surgery out of the box.
Me neither.
Right. But I'm
Or
going to
how
talk.
grass grows.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So anyhow, I'm sorry.
no, it's all good. It's awesome. Yeah, totally. But so I actually say to people, my condolences if you ever do decide to work with me. You have me for life because I don't charge anymore for anything. We hold hands and we make it happen. That's what it's about,
Yeah.
You just need to invest in yourself 1 hour a day after I teach you how to do this, and that's it. That's what I ask. So it's those who are serious about this industry, who are serious about what they want to spread as a message and how many people they want to touch, right? That's what I do. I'm also speaking and I also walk my talk.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like I do what I tell my clients to do. And they got a hold of that last Tuesday. I was giving a class and my phone rang. So I asked if it's okay for me to take that call because it was a client that I haven't heard from in a long time. So I thought something was urgent and everybody gave me permission. So I just put her on speaker and my clients heard the conversation. And they're like, after I hung up, they're like, oh my God, you really do walk your talk,
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely. Because, I wouldn't know what to do if you asked me a question if I wasn't doing it.
Yeah. I
Right?
was going to say, yeah. Why would I train you on something that I'm not doing myself? That doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of people that do that. They
Well,
promise
I
people
know.
to become
Yeah.
a millionaire, but they've never made a million in their whole life put
No.
together.
Well, I know. And that's. I mean, I don't want to say the coaching industry is filled with that, but the coaching
Yes,
industry has lots of people who stand on the first rung of life and want to coach you to get to the sixth.
exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
But
So,
that's why you have the guarantee.
yep. And it's in writing. So I'm the only one in the world that does it in writing. You know, it's easy to guarantee if you do the work. That's all it is, really. And you keep at it and you persevere, you're consistent and you persevere. There are good laws and bad laws, like it's just like
Yeah.
any business, but you got to keep pushing through. I actually saved my clients 10 years of learning of all the mistakes, right? Because I've done them.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Best way to get a hold of you.
Okay, let me give you my cell phone number and it's 917-515-6803. They can text, call. I am an open book there. Also, they can email me. The best email right now is orly.gmc.founder@gmail.com.
Okay. Great. And I have your LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn is
well.
also very good. Yes, LinkedIn, I'm there. Yes, Orly Amore business coach, something like that.
Okay. Oh, I've got it here, and I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, wonderful.
I appreciate you putting your phone number out there. I don't like to
Not
repeat
common.
those.
Yes, I know. Then I'll get a bunch of weirdos calling me. But
Yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, that
I
doesn't
know.
happen.
I
Yeah,
know.
It's
But
all good.
well, thank you for your time today. This has been great.
Thank you for having me, Frank. God bless. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.